What's up, my friends in film fandom, wherever you may be and however you may be watching? Thank you so much for giving us a little bit of your time. You know, the rest of this month is going to be dominated by Wolverine, Deadpool, probably Taylor Swift, and all the millions of other cameos they're going to have in Deadpool and Wolverine. But before we get to that, there is one movie that we've all been kind of anticipating. We're fans of the first two films of the series. And this one, a prequel spin-off, I don't know what you want to call it, but it was an entertaining movie nonetheless, and that is A Quiet Place Day One. Here to talk about it with me is the Shape of Lone Star State, my man Tex. What's up, brother?
Frank, you're being too loud. They're going to kill us now.
I wish I had some running water somewhere, but I feel like that would screw with my audio a little bit.
I thought about doing the whole review in that quiet voice, but yeah, that would get old after about 2 minutes. So
they would not understand us being quiet about anything. That is so not us.
I've never been quiet. So
what's up, Nick? What's up? Love you guys too. Let's see what today. Today is what, Tuesday? Today's Tuesday. Yeah. So Dr. Nick and Alex will be live on Thursday doing their thing. We probably will not be. I didn't realize that Thursday was the 4th of July when I first started studying all this stuff out, but I will figure it out. We will get all of Deadpool and Twister reviewed prior to those movies coming out later on this month. Worry about it not. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna figure it out, and maybe even throw another one in there. Something me and Tex were just talking about what we want to do, but we'll make it happen. But Jeremy not with us tonight. He's actually not going to be here today or Thursday if we do anything because he's got stuff going on. But he will be back whenever his schedule allows. But he's going to be here for the important stuff. He's going to be here for Twisters, which I know he wants to be here for, and of course for Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, okay,
But we are here today to talk about, like I said, a movie that we've all been kind of anticipating because this franchise has been a very positive, pleasant surprise, and that is A Quiet Place Day One. It is the 2024 American apocalyptic horror film written and directed by Michael Sarnoski, based on the story he conceived with John Krasinski. It is the third installment of the Quiet Place film series, serving as a spin-off and a prequel. The film stars Lupita Nyong'o as a terminally ill woman during the beginning stages of an invasion in New York City by extraterrestrial creatures with an acute sense of hearing. The supporting cast includes Joseph Quinn, Alex Wolff, and Djimon Hounsou, who reprises his role from the second film. A Quiet Place Day One premiered at Tribeca Film Festival on June 26th and was released in the United States by Paramount on June 28th. The film has received generally positive reviews from critics and has grossed, as of when I got this information, $98 million worldwide. Critics found the film tense, though less terrifying than its predecessors, but praised the performances, including the cat Frodo. On Rotten Tomatoes, 84% of 164 critics' reviews are positive, with an average rating of 7.1 out of 10. The website's consensus review reads, quote, "Grounded in raw humanity by Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn, this sideways entry into A Quiet Place finds fresh notes of fright to play amongst the silence." I think that's one of the actually very well worded consensus reviews from Rotten Tomatoes. Usually I kind of like they're over the top, I agree, or they're kind of terrible, I disagree. But I think that one's one of the few that comes out kind of just right. I don't know, Tex, give me your initial thoughts on A Quiet Place Day One.
Yeah, I'm a fan of this franchise. I'm not like super fan status or whatever, but anytime one of these is in the theater, I'm going to go see it. I mean, hell, I got the poster from it. But this was I'm not really big on PG-13 horror, which this is. Can you call this a horror film? I guess technically, but whatever. But yeah, this was a good one. It was. I like that we got to see the monsters quicker than before in some of the previous entries. I think, hell, the first one you don't see the monsters till like 10 minutes left in the movie or 15 minutes or something. But yeah, this was a fun one. It kind of boring at times. There was a couple lull moments that I thought could have been sped up a bit, but overall, I enjoyed going to see it. I didn't regret my time in the theater, so I dug it.
Yeah, this is one of those weird horror movies that we talk about the different genres of horror films. There's comedy horror, there's sci-fi horror, there's suspense horror. This is definitely a little bit more on the suspense side. I mean, we've already kind of got a knowledge as to what these creatures are from the first two films. So you don't have to spend a lot of time introducing us to the terror, the horror part of it all, to the effects-laden part of it all. This really gives you a chance to focus on the story, which is really what this is. I would consider it a horror film, but not horror not horror that easily fits into the definition of any of the other genres, because like the first film, there's so little visual stuff. It's all tension. It's almost like a drama. It's almost like a drama mystery kind of thing to a point, because there's so little blood and spit and ass everywhere, like you would see in a Friday the 13th or Terrifier or something like that. It's just a different kind of film. Right. So it's definitely I would call it like a very dramatic suspense piece, as opposed to like, it's a different kind of horror. It's hard to define right now. I mean, it's something, like I said, all the movies from this franchise kind of fit into this a little bit, but this one more so, because there's just not. I mean, I had trouble even finding pictures of the monsters to put in the stream because the monsters themselves are not a very big.
Well, you haven't seen much of them in this franchise, which is my point. Yeah.
Well, other than the fact that they're there, you obviously get a couple of really cool scenes, them coming through the glass, the building, and all that. But it's like, for the most part, they're just not really in here. It's their presence in this film or anything else. But we're going to break down a little bit of this as we go on. But let's first talk about the director Michael Sarnoski for a minute. I mean, he's really just getting started, and his first two directorial efforts have not been bad at all. They've both been met with a lot of critical acclaim. Not just this film. We did that film Pig with Nicolas Cage a couple of years back, which a lot of people say was one of the films that kind of brought back Nicolas Cage, his renaissance, as it were, back into acting. So it's kind of a hot start still. We're only about two full-length feature films in his career, but you can't help but be a little bit impressed. I don't know. What do you think about his job directing this film? And do you think he's got the chops to do something a bit more horror-like, something like a straight-up horror?
Yeah, this was the only piece of work I've ever seen from him. I've never seen Pig with Nicolas Cage, which I didn't even really know existed, to be honest with you. I'm going to have to go look for that, because if Nick Cage is there, I'll check it out. That's kind of the rule that I have. But, the guy's got potential. He knows how to build tension, which is good for horror. With a suspense/horror film, which this is, they really play off of, which this story kind of leads itself to that, with the tension of any sound that you make, if it's a suitcase, being rolled down the street, or, a book falling on the ground, whatever it may happen to be, that can lead to just the world ending for you, which is a frightening concept. Somebody could accidentally sneeze a little bit and, you wipe out an entire block of, the city or whatever. But, he's got some chops. He's got some potential. I'd like to see what he could do with a rated R level scale of options, because I think, especially with this story, it might have played better because of the tension. And I like what he's doing here. He's got great talent to work with in this film. I mean, Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn, which I'm sure we'll talk about, he definitely had that to lean on. And the guy, I'm if I see his name in the future, I'll definitely pay attention. I'll say that much. So.
Yeah, he's off to a great start. Pig, while kind of a slow burn, is also a very tense movie. Part of it, I think, is his direction. The other part of it is what is kind of how Nicolas Cage plays the role, because he's kind of it seems like in every Nicolas Cage movie, whether it's a comedy or an action movie or whatever, he always has that look on his face like he's getting ready to blow. So right.
That's the charm of Nicolas Cage, though.
Yeah, his facial expressions alone kind of carry a lot of tension in any film that he's in. But that movie is the same thing. And with this one, like I said, in a movie like this, it was really, really easy to kind of get trapped in we're just going to focus on the monsters. But he's like, well, I'm gonna make a kind of a ballsy move. I mean, not ballsy for this franchise, but kind of ballsy for somebody who's trying to make their mark. I'm going to have the monsters play very much a supporting, maybe even kind of like occasional role, and let this story be driven by the situation, the characters, more than anything else. That's why I kind of struggle a bit to even kind of call this a horror movie, because there's so little action in this. It's like there's for a movie that's all about being quiet, there's some really good pieces of not dialogue, but of communication between people, which is very intriguing to me.
Right. Well, it kind of takes the Jaws method, don't you think?
A little bit, yeah.
Not showing the monster. Well, of course, in the original Jaws, the reason why you don't see the shark till the very end is because hell, the thing didn't work back in the day. But that I kind of felt like that's kind of the prototype for a lot of these films like this. Is I mean, hell, Roger Corman was famous for that. He would make monster movies where you get 5 minutes of monster in the film because they either A, didn't have the money to make it look good, or B, they just built it that way and it was cheaper to make the film. But, for him to do that in this film, now to his credit, we do get more of the monsters, well, whatever they're called. I still don't know what they're not kaijus, they're not, whatever, I don't know what these things are called. But we do get more of them in this movie, which I like. I would have liked more, but you know what? It is what it is.
Yeah, let's move on and talk about the cast now. Again, really carried by two people. Well, let's be honest, and it's carried very, very well, I might add. Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn ultimately carry this film, but I mean, there were other people in here that were pretty significant at times in the film. What do you think of the cast of the film, and who stood out to you the most?
I wonder, because obviously Joseph Quinn plays Eddie Munson in Stranger Things. Was it intentional to have him come up from the water like he's just escaping the upside down? That was the first thought that came to my head. I'm like, I bet they did that on purpose. Like, the last time the world has probably seen this guy was, he's going into the upside down, so now he's coming back out. But no, Joseph Quinn, I thought he did really well. We don't get to know much about him. I mean, all we really get to know, spoilers, of course, if you're watching this, he's a English law student coming over from Britain or somewhere. He has no family here. That's why he's kind of like a lost puppy in the beginning of this movie. And he's just following Lupita Nyong'o around, and she's like, leave me alone, dude. I'm trying not to die. So like, she spends like 20 minutes basically doing that. And this is when we learn the exposition of what he is in this film. And if it wasn't for him, she wouldn't have lived as long as she did, let's be honest, because, he goes to get the medicine. He does all of the things in this movie, which is by far my favorite scene in this movie, of him on that, him going to get the patch with the medicine, and he gets stuck chasing the cat. And he gets on that girder that looks like a building just exploded right there. And that was a really cool scene. I like that one. But yeah, Joseph Quinn did well, which, there's two guys in Hollywood we're going to see a lot more of going in the future, kind of like the Chris Pratt or the Pedro Pascal, and that's Glenn Powell and Joseph Quinn. Joseph Quinn is in this. He's in Gladiator 2. He's in the upcoming Fantastic Four film. We're going to see a lot of this guy. But yeah, he did really well in this film.
Stop trying to make Glenn Powell happen. Glenn Powell's never going to happen. That's still one of my favorite pictures I've ever seen from a premiere.
They're the new hit guys. So
I'm a Glenn Powell fan. I think I take that seriously. I think Glenn Powell's fantastic. But there's about 5 people that are really that this movie really focuses on. But I mean, obviously, Lupita Nyong'o and Joseph Quinn kind of carry the movie. But I got to be honest. I mean, Joseph Quinn, my fear was that he was going to end up kind of being pigeonholed into Eddie Munson. That was going to be the thing. Yeah. I mean, he even talked about having a lot of anxiety and a lot of depression being recognized, and that's all they saw him as when his character on Stranger Things kind of took the internet and the world by storm. But not unlike Daniel Radcliffe after Harry Potter, he needed to do something that kind of took him away from that and showed that he is actually a legitimate good actor. And damn it, man, if anybody steals any scenes from Lupita Nyong'o in this movie, it's this guy. I am really, because when they said they had cast him in Fantastic Four, I was kind of like, okay, I don't know if this is because you think he's actually going to be good, or it's like we've had some misses lately. Phase 4 has not gone off the way that other phases have. So we're going to get this guy who's really famous for being in Stranger Things, which is a very famous property. It hasn't really missed a beat yet. But I was kind of like, meh, I'll see how it goes. It's not like I didn't like him. I wanted to see more. This movie sets a lot of those fears for him. It sets those aside for me because he acts the shit out of this movie. I mean, I see desperation. I mean, there was a couple of times where he's about to lose it over the course of this movie, especially like when they're in the subway system and they start to get deeper and deeper water trying to sneak past that one alien.
Okay.
It's like that was a scene where I was like, oh, this is where he's going to die because he's going to freak out, and Lupita Nyong'o is going to be like, well, you're the bait while I get away now because you went and screwed everything up. But no, was like he was the one who was very, very flawed, very faulty. He was the weak link the whole time, and somehow managed to keep his shit together and continue on. And the way he works that, and especially finding that bravery at the end, when he's making the run for it down the pier, I was like, this guy's character arc over just the course of this hour and 40-minute long movie or whatever it was, maybe an hour and a half. The movie wasn't terribly long,
something like that. Yeah,
but
it was around 90 minutes.
His character growth and his arc over this, I thought, was very well done and very well portrayed by him. I thought he was fantastic, and that to me, for one, like I said, it's hard to steal scenes from Lupita Nyong'o. I mean, she's already a Hall of Famer in my book. She's so good in everything she's doing. Everything I've seen her anyway.
Well,
but
one criticism I would say about this film is I think they messed up in not bringing in Joseph Quinn sooner than they did. They should have had him playing the role of the nurse in the beginning of the film, because think about it, the whole thing with Lupita, you're not my friend, you're my nurse. How cool would it have been to start off at that point with Joseph Quinn's role and have him show, no, I actually am your friend because we're literally in a apocalypse here, and I could just walk off and leave you and be completely justified because I don't want to die. But I felt like that was a wasted opportunity to see the growth of the friendship, how he goes out of his way risking his own life for her medicine, cat, go find pizza, all of these things. That he should have been the nurse role in this, and we should have had the entire movie with the both of them. I think it would have played a little bit better that way.
I honestly, I think it would have been better off to leave him where he was at and then kind of cut a little bit of stuff with the nurse. I think the stuff with the nurse was basically just to kind of show where Lupita Nyong'o was at the beginning of the movie. She's kind of resigned to the fact that she's got a lot of more days behind her than in front of her. She knows this is going to get her, so she's kind of just not in a good place. Let's say when this movie kind of starts. So
of course,
so I think that just kind of serves to set up who she is and where she's at in the moment. Her finding something along the way to live for is kind of part of her character arc. It would have been nicer to have had more of Joseph Quinn, but I kind of like the fact that he comes in kind of in the middle of this journey to refocus her, because who the hell knows how this journey would have gone for her had she not had that stumbled across this one guy who just swam up out of the sewer like a damn rat. and
he came from the upside down. He just got inside Metallica.
Yeah, the one who is only following her around because he really doesn't have anything else to do. He doesn't. I mean, he doesn't know what the hell to do. He's from London. He's there on law school. His parents are across the pond. Right. Maybe dead for all he knows. He doesn't know what other stuff's going on around the world with what's going on in Manhattan. So yeah, I mean, he's clinging to the one thing the one human character that he's found. Now, the couple of casting things that really bothered the shit out of me. You've got Djimon Hounsou, who is, I think, one of the best actors working right now. I mean, that guy could almost literally play any role better than 99% of the people you could have put that role. He is so damn good. To have him in the film for all of 3.5 minutes. I don't get it. I mean, I get it. He's a little bit of connective tissue between this film and the other two films, because he plays a much bigger role in A Quiet Place too. And you kind of get to see his origin story, as it were, in this movie. But I'm like, if you're going to have him play a significant part. Maybe not have him play the character that Joseph Quinn ended up playing with Eric. But I mean, have him in there more. I mean, add about 10 minutes to the movie and give him a little side story, a little side quest. I want to know how he got him and his family to that boat. Maybe he had to come across a couple of aliens and do some crazy shit and whatever to try to get on that boat. It wouldn't have killed you to have added 10 minutes of Djimon Hounsou to this and given him more of a role. I mean, he was only there to serve as like this sign saying, "Hey guys, remember this other movie that this is a part of? Yeah, no John Krasinski, no Emily Blunt, but we got this guy." So hey, it's like anybody who's a big fan of the series is going to go see this movie anyway. I mean, there's no John Krasinski and no Emily Blunt in this movie, but I mean, it's like if you think the best you could do is Djimon Hounsou as that connective tissue, then it's like at least make him a bigger part of the movie. Give me a little bit of his beginning, because now we see him with his wife and his kid at this marionette show. I want to hear a little bit from him. I want to see a little bit of his. I want to see his prequel a little bit. I want to see his coming to where we end up finding him in the second movie. I just thought it was a waste. I mean, maybe they didn't have that much time. Well, maybe he was shooting other things, so they just we just want to put him in there just kind of as a psychic wink to other movies that other people like, so that they'll like this a little bit more. But I mean, if you're going to have him, give him more to do. I mean, the guy's one of the best actors working right now. Give him more to do.
If there's any franchise, but I mean, obviously every Hollywood studio wants to build a universe out of their movies and IPs, right? If there's any franchise that I could think of that deserves a streaming show of some kind, A Quiet Place could really benefit from that, because you could make it for cheap, focus on your actors, you have your monsters in the background, you can tell different kinds of stories. They did this with Walking Dead, with Tales of the Walking Dead, I think it was called, where they just kind of explored character pieces of people within this world. And if they gave him like a 6-episode miniseries or something to kind of flesh him out even more, to how he gets from this film to A Quiet Place Part 2, I think that would be kind of cool. And I mean, there's a lot you could do to play with in this world. I mean, yeah, the aliens are kind of generic. They came from outer space. Somehow they can breathe our air, but they're terrified of water, which that's kind of an overplayed trope, in my opinion. That's been done a lot with the whole water and aliens thing. Which, why would you come to Earth if you're afraid of water? We're like mostly water. I've never understood that shit, but okay, whatever. But yeah, I think he would do well with a little 6-episode thing on Max or Netflix or somewhere. I'd watch it. I'd check it out.
Just to see him on screen would be fantastic. Would be fantastic. I mean,
right. Well, that's what I'm saying. He's such a talented actor.
Yeah, at this point, you wouldn't be able to do that, because as fun as that would be, you wouldn't be able to do that because you've already had him in this movie. We've kind of seen all that they're going to give us of his background.
There's some stories you could tell, though.
But still, I'd watch it anyway. I mean, just because Djimon Hounsou is fantastic.
Why not?
But and the other thing that got me is, look, anybody who's ever owned a cat, have you ever known? I got about halfway through the movie, and I got to thinking to myself, I was like, this cat has not meowed one time. I was like, I mean, I get it. I understand that if the cat meows is going to give him away, but I'm thinking to myself, even in the times where they were kind of like whispering and you get away with talking, the water, the rain, the couple of times that happens, of course, in the movie, don't you think you could have dropped the meow right in there to make it a bit more realistic? Because I have never, ever, and I've had a couple of cats in my life, I have never, ever known a cat go through something like this and go that distance of time without making a single solitary sound, let alone a meow.
Yeah. I'm not a cat person. Hell, I'm allergic to them. But yeah, that was like, because at first I thought, is this cat like mute? Does it not speak? Is that the case or whatever? I wasn't really sure, but then I was like, no, this is just going to be instead of like, oh, in this Quiet Place we're going to have a baby. There's no baby in this one. The baby is the cat to lead us to more problems, which whatever. So. In reality, it was a plot device that I think they should have played with a little bit more. And I think if they were able to show more chaos than they did, I think they may have, which would have led better to the film, because there's a lot of character-driven stuff. There's not, for this to be a disaster apocalypse end of the world movie, they don't really show much of that. They spend more time talking about, my father, he took me to the jazz club and then we got pizza. That whole subplot takes up like 35 minutes in the middle of the movie and kind of puts it off a little bit. I know that's the character-driven stuff, but it takes a huge chunk out of it. But that's the decision that they went with. So what you gonna do?
But what do you think of the plot of the film? Obviously, there's a lot going on with the monsters. We get to see when they initially hit Manhattan, if not the entire world at the same time. But the plot of the movie, again, centered more on the characters, but way less around the actual invasion itself. What do you think of the plot of the movie? Did it work for you, or is there something you'd have changed?
Yeah, I would have had more chaos, more of the aliens. I mean, but that's just me wanting more of the horrific, space creature, alien, kaiju monster things in the film. I would have had less of the character-driven stuff, but I don't know what the budget was of this film to, maybe it wasn't available. And the stuff that we got was all they could do. But the like I said, I would have done less with the pizza and my father this. I would have still done that storyline, but maybe sped it up a bit. Like that went a bit slow for me. I would have brought Joseph Quinn in quicker because he's arguably the biggest star in this movie, coming off of Stranger Things and Gladiator 2 and everything else that he's in. I would have brought him in quicker. Like I said, had him play the nurse. There's a few other things I would have done. Maybe showed a little more death and chaos instead of just seeing like a blood smear on the wall or on the cop car. Maybe show me how that got there. That could have been fun. But, this is PG-13 we're dealing with. So they're working within a certain parameters.
Yeah, I mean, I really like the character stuff. Look, if you've got somebody like Lupita Nyong'o, you don't just have her as a damsel in distress. You've got to let her act. If you don't, then you're completely wasting your talents. I like the character stuff. I like I said, there was something about the way she communicated without talking throughout the course of this movie. Her facial expressions, her mannerisms, they were so bold and yet fit her. You know what I mean? Kind of her look. I actually thought it worked really well. I will agree with you on one thing though. Another action set piece would have been kind of cool. I mean, because when you think about it, you're talking about an alien invasion movie. So, yeah, granted, most of this movie is supposed to surround the character interactions, not necessarily the stuff going on around them, but it's like you can't really make an alien invasion movie without a couple of really big action set pieces. And there's like one big one in the film, and then there's a couple of smaller ones that are kind of there, not as filler. They're just kind of like it's like they're there just to remind you that, oh yeah, don't forget, there's these scary aliens out there that if you make a sound, they will come eat you. It's like I know, but I mean, give me some of that. I still want that kind of a thing from this movie. So I do wish they would have given me a few more minutes of action. I mean, I would have dealt with a movie that was 2 hours and 10 minutes if you'd have given me a backstory with Djimon Hounsou to like show him in the field and get in the boat, and one more good action set piece that adds a good 15 or 20 minutes to the movie, and the movie's still going to be plenty enjoyable. So you're giving me more of what I want. So why not? But yeah, I agree. I think a couple more alien attacks would have been kind of cool. The one thing I don't understand, they don't explain this in the movie, is you talked about that scene where he was going to get Joseph Quinn was going to get the medicines, and he's chasing down that damn cat, which still drives me nuts. I'm sorry. I am leaving that cat out to be fed to those damn aliens. It's like, dude, I'm sorry. We are in the middle of an alien apocalypse here. These crazy spider-like things are trying to jump people and eat them. Sorry, cat. You're on your own. If you don't follow me, then kiss my ass. I am not going through to get you. I don't care how bad Lupita Nyong'o likes you. I am not doing it. But but it's like that scene where he's going to get the cat and he's up on the girder and he comes like almost face to face with one of the aliens. I was wondering, I was like, what are those little egg things? Because you see the cat kind of chewing at one, and then while he's up there trying to get to the cat, he looks down and he sees them ripping one open, and it looks like they're eating it too. At first, I was just kind of like, okay, this is kind of like Alien. It's their eggs. That's how so many of them end up on the planet.
So that's what I thought.
1 and 2. But it's like, but then they crack it open and eat it. I'm like, I don't know. That's a big question that it never answers. Hopefully, we'll answer that in another film. We'll talk about the future of the franchise here in a minute. But
there's more coming. Yeah.
Yeah. What did you think of that scene? Were you left a little bit perplexed at that, or are you just okay with them leaving that out there to answer later on?
Well, about halfway through this film, I realized this is one of those movies that's going to ask more questions than it answers. This is obviously not anytime you title something like Day One, you know that Day 2 through 7 are coming. It's instead of Friday the 13th Part 1, it's whatever. It's like I said, for me, like I know a lot about these franchises, but this is one that I believe I've heard. I think Death Angels is what these creatures have been called. I've heard that somewhere. I could be wrong. I'm not, so don't quote me. But there's a lot of unanswered questions with this. What are the eggs? How did these aliens choose Earth? Did they jump on obviously they come in like a meteor crash or something. So did they come from a ship? What's going on here? There's a lot of questions that don't get answered, which is this is this franchise is a yes, it's set during an alien apocalypse, but it focuses on our human counterparts more than the aliens. And you just get little bits and pieces as you go. So, I mean, that's fine for what it is, and it's obviously working because this franchise is banking a ton of money. But I would have liked to see more of an explanation, but I guess they're just going to wait for A Quiet Place day 2 through 5 or whatever's going on. And I guess this, from what I can tell, this is in between the first 2 Quiet Place films. What, like, how far is this between this film and Quiet Place Part 2? Like, what's the time given here? Because I don't think they've really cleared that up yet. Not from what I can tell, though.
Yeah, I don't see a name for the aliens. I'm looking at it right now, and I don't think anything I'm reading.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I think they're called. I think they've been nicknamed. I think it was a nickname of Death Angel, but like I said, I don't think that's official by any sense of the term. So I don't know. I'm not for sure.
They weren't referred to as Death Angels in the second movie, were they? I've only seen the second movie once.
I think so. I can't remember. Oh, it's been forever since I've seen either of the first 2 films. I'd have to go back and watch them again. I actually kind of want to watch them again after seeing this. I just hadn't had time to get around to it.
I mean, either. I was hoping to go see the second one again before I saw this one. I should get around to it. But I thought I liked the plot. It was pretty good. I mean, scary aliens come down to eat humans. I mean, just on the face of it, it's nothing new. I mean, they've been doing that plot since they started making movies. But right. I like every story like this has to have some kind of a beginning. I like the fact that there's a little bit of an explanation as to how this all starts. I mean, all we really see is they all come down. So I mean, were they all shot here from some foreign other planet? Were they all shot here from some spaceship that's in orbit that we didn't know about till it was too late? I mean, who knows? Who cares? I like it when the stuff that we have no explanation for in a film franchise gets the explanation. This was one of my big problems with Walking Dead. It's like they never really explained how this thing started that I know of. And I know that Jeremy's probably watching this and screaming at me. He's like, "No, you dumbass! This is where they
never clarified." And well,
but yeah, they've
hinted at, but they've never clarified.
Yeah, there's no explanation as to what got us here in the first place. It just is. So, and part of me wants that full circle of information to say, yeah, that's pretty cool. Wants that to come full circle and say, this is why this happened. So it's nice to at least see the beginning of it, but I'm not getting much, it doesn't really give us much of the, where did they come from? I would imagine that the military, once we get into a 4th film in this franchise, will hopefully kind of explain a little bit of it. It's like, oh yeah, we found out they came from Alpha Centauri or whatever. Some stupid explanation that says they came from space. But
maybe I would like to see something like that. Crossover with Transformers or something. Dark Side of the Moon shit. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no crossovers. No crossover. Not everything has to be a shared universe. Let's calm the fuck down here. But let's take a minute now and talk about kind of the future of the franchise. I mean, obviously there's going to be more coming up. I'll hit you with this real quick. In May 2021, Emily Blunt revealed that Krasinski has plans for a 3rd and final Quiet Place film, acknowledging that he had wanted to see how the second film installment was received before moving forward on another film. She stated it is intended to be a trilogy. In July, Blunt confirmed that Krasinski is working on a 3rd and final installment separate from this spin-off movie from this film, with intentions to once again serve as director. In February of 2022, A Quiet Place Part 3 was officially announced with a scheduled release date of 2025. That's only about a year from now, assuming it comes out in the summer around this time next year. So, I mean, they'd have to get to filming that movie pretty damn quick. I mean, they need to start shooting on that like right now. I haven't heard of them filming any. I haven't heard of filming starting on this. I mean, granted, I'm not as in the know as other people, but it's like I watch the trades pretty closely just because I do, and I haven't seen anything about this film being anywhere near shooting. What do you think the future of this franchise holds? I believe that Krasinski wants to make another film. I believe he wants to make sure he bookends this thing. He wants the beginning, the middle, and the end. He wants the trilogy. What do you think this film is going to bring? Do you think we get an explanation? Do you think we get something else? What do you think?
I'm a fan of enough franchises that have said this is the final thing. This is the final chapter. This is, Jason dies, for the third time, but he comes back next summer because we just made $100 million. I don't believe any Hollywood executive when they say this is the final thing. The only time something is dead in Hollywood is when it makes no money. Now, Krasinski, to his credit, he originally have proposed a trilogy of this is, A, B, and C. This is our story. But as long as Paramount is making money off of this, it's not going to die. Where do I want to see it go? Yeah, I think we need an explanation of some kind because this is not a shark. This is not whatever. And hell, even Walking Dead through their spinoff shows and whatever, and through hints within the main show have hinted at what caused that apocalypse. We kind of need to know what these aliens are. I don't want them to do like an M. Night Shyamalan thing where they just kind of show up one day and, they're here now. Like I need some clarification of the how and the why. Like I said, did they come here on a spaceship? Was this where do they come from? Hell, the creatures that just from this movie alone that were on the island, they can't go anywhere because the bridges were destroyed. They're surrounded by water. So eventually those things are going to have to eat each other or die, I would imagine. Eventually you're going to run out of people to eat. I guess I don't know how many sewer rats they can survive on, but they have a whole world to play with. So they're going to have to open this thing up to, did these things land in the middle of the desert in Arizona for Quiet Place Part 5 or whatever? There's 1,000 different ways they can go with this thing. But these creatures here, they're kind of marooned because, the whole climax of this film was Joseph Quinn beating them by jumping in the water, so they need to put one in the desert, put one in a jungle, do something. I don't know. Put it somewhere else in the world. That's where I'd go with it.
Death Angels versus Predator. That's what we need. That's the crossover we need. You want a shared universe? That's it right there. Let Predator go after it.
Oh, yeah. You know what? And if we've got predators, that means we're just like right next to, xenomorphs and aliens. So if we can have some xenomorphs running around, predators are over here killing everything, and these gigantic things, you know what? I'm down. I'm good.
There you go, wrestling. Take my money, there you go, wrestling fans of the community. There's your next Hell in a Cell match. We have Alien versus Predator versus Death Angel.
Whatever these things are. Boy, I'm still betting on Predator. That
is the matchup right there. That's what I want to see. That's better than Godzilla versus Kong. That's the movie I want to see.
Right, yeah. Oh, I dig it.
But let's get into some trivia now. And again, a new movie, so not a whole lot. But I did manage to find a couple of pretty interesting ones. Lupita Nyong'o talks about wanting to go get some pizza for this entire movie. The pizza place that she goes to is Patty's Pizzeria in Harlem, which is a real pizza place. It is considered by many to be the originator of New York-style pizza.
Really?
Yes.
Okay. I don't know if you know this or not, but New York-style pizza is like the bigger slices with just cheese, right? That's New York-style pizza?
No, not as I understand it. There are specific characteristics about the dough. It's not just the size of the slice. It is not like really, really thick like a lot of ham toss. It's on the thinner side, but it's not a thin crust. There was a living here in Ohio as I do. There was a guy who had years and years ago. I don't know if this place is even open anymore. There was a guy who realized that one of the things that makes New York pizza unique is the way that they process their water. So using the water that comes out of the tap in New York to make pizza dough was one of the things that was making the dough unique. So he brought his act to Ohio, opened a pizza place, and noticed he wasn't getting the same kind of dough. The formula was all the same, but he realized the difference was how they process water from one city to the next. Now, around here, for those of you who know what I'm talking about, we have really hard water here. There's a lot of minerals and stuff in it. So that's why a lot of people around areas like this will have water filters to filter out a lot of those minerals to get kind of like a lighter tasting water. So what this guy was doing was he realized that the difference in the way they process water. So he was having tap water shipped from New York to here just to make his pizza to get the desired effect. Something about the way they process the water over there was affecting the way. Water matters, believe it or not, when you're making stuff. Yes, all those ingredients matter. So there was something in the way they process water. So yes, there are certain characteristics to New York style pizza that you cannot really get anywhere else.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Kind of like real Parmesan cheese is not just made anywhere; it's made in the Parmesan region of northern Italy. Like there's something about the way the cows are, like the way that they're fed by grains and stuff they only grow in that area of Italy that does a certain thing to the cheese that makes it Parmesan Reggiano cheese that any other Parmesan, I mean, they can make it like Parmesan, but it's not real Parmesan cheese. The real Parmesan Reggiano is extremely expensive for a
I come from the great state of Texas, and my idea of good pizza is Domino's or Pizza Hut. That's kind of how I look at things. So, now you want to talk barbecue or Mexican food, I can talk for days. But pizza, that's not really, I don't eat a lot of pizza, and if I do, it's one of the chains that I'm calling it. Now there are a lot of like pizza places that do like custom pizzas and whatever. I'm just not a big pizza guy, so pizza would not be the one thing I'm going to risk my neck for against alien space monsters to find, but maybe like that last one, good bottle of whiskey or something. But I don't know.
Some good enchiladas. If I know that I'm probably not going to live through this,
like, what?
If I'm getting the last meal, it's going to be some good enchiladas.
If you told me like, hey Tex, there is a 12-pound brisket just done smoking across town. If you can sneak over and get it, you know what? I'm gonna go run it. I'm not gonna lie. But,
How many rounds do I have in my weapon?
Right.
I can make a go of it.
Right. Then it would be worth it, but no, not for pizza. And as I put in my tagline, you better not put no freaking pineapple on my pizza neither, because
no pineapple
you belong in prison. That is disgusting. I'm sorry.
The only thing that angers him as much as A1 sauce on steak is pineapple on pizza.
Oh, geez. Don't even get me started. Nope. Doesn't belong.
Let's see. I did not know this while I was reading this. Lupita Nyong'o was afraid of cats, so she had to undergo cat therapy to play this role. She explained that she was terrified of cats and could not be in a room with the cat. She was suspicious. She said, I was suspicious of them, and I was pretty sure they were out to get me, but I wanted to play this character so badly, and she has this cat, so I had to face my fear. They hired someone to bring some cats to her in Los Angeles, and over the course of several days, she observed the cats and asked a lot of questions. And when she felt brave enough, she touched one, and then it was two, and then before you knew it, she was petting one, and then she could eventually hold on to a cat without freaking out.
How far have we used to be cave people that would go out and club like wild beasts and skin them and eat them. Now we need cat therapy. This is how far we've fallen as a whole.
No, she doesn't need it because she needs therapy. She was exposure therapy. I think is probably the better word, because there's this thing when they're telling you to face your fears, they tell you to go engage in that fear to conquer it. So if you have a fear of flying, they're like, get your ass on an airplane and fly and get over it. So that's kind of what they did. That's kind of what they did with this. Is she had a bunch of cats brought to her, and she just kind of immersed herself in it to get over her fear. So this is really about her conquering her fear. I think it's kind of cool.
Yeah, but to be afraid, I mean, I can understand like having like, okay, I hate heights. Me and heights do not get along. Like if there are certain things I just refuse to go do if I don't feel safe. But to me, that's a little more legitimate than cats. Like I don't like them. I can't breathe around cats. It's just the way that it is. But I don't need cat therapy. That's just a bit soft, if you ask me.
If you went down the list of phobias, like just said, hey Google, give me a list of all the phobias, I bet you would go down that list, and about 99% of them to you would be like, "That's completely ridiculous. Why is somebody afraid of water?
Probably, yeah. You probably.
Why is somebody afraid of dust? Why is somebody afraid of this very stupid thing?" But I mean, everybody's got a fear. I mean, there are people that would look at you and be like, "Why are you afraid of heights? It's just you're just off the ground." It doesn't make sense to them, but it makes perfect sense to you.
See, the reason why I don't like heights is, if I fall from that, 90 feet in there, I'm going to die. If I see a little four-legged thing going meow, I'm probably okay, even if it attacks me. But I don't know. Whatever.
Well, you and I don't have a fear of clowns. And for all the horror movies we've seen about clowns cutting people in half from the vagina down to their neck.
I've got 3 clown action figures on my shelf right now. I'm looking at them.
Yeah, neither one of us have a fear of clowns, but other people out there are terrified of clowns. I mean, so everybody's got a fear of something. I've always told people I'm not afraid of heights. I'm afraid of falling from heights because the landing sucks.
See, there you go. There you go. That's it.
I love the view. I love being up high and being able to see the world from a perspective I don't always get to see it from. My fear is that, something underneath me is shaky and I'm going to fall down and I'm going to hit the rapid acceleration is what I'm fearful of, not the heights themselves. But
you're going to prove gravity for yourself is what you're going to do. That's what you're doing.
Look, gravity works. I've dropped things. I don't need to drop myself to prove that gravity works. But let's see. Each film in this series, I don't know if you noticed or not, takes place in different population environments. The first film takes place in a rural farm. The second takes place at a factory in a suburban neighborhood. This film takes place in an urban city.
Which, I mean, we don't get to see a lot of the urban, gigantic. I'll take it back. The only one scene that we really do is when, the group of people is walking down the street and then, the suitcase wheel is making noise and, they slowly start to realize, oh, crap, what's going on. That's really the only scene where you get to see a massive group of people. I don't know. Maybe they didn't have a big budget for extras or something. I don't really know. They could have CGI'd in, which I'm pretty sure they did with that crowd anyways, because a lot of those look similar, to be honest with you. But they could have, to be in that environment, they should have showed more people, I thought. But that was a downfall.
Yeah, I understand them talking about the setting, but I don't think that the crowd size really made a difference in this movie, or the city size rather really made a difference in this movie.
Not
because
really.
The bottom line is everybody's got to stay quiet. By the time you get balls deep in this movie anyway, everybody's scattered, they're hiding. So it's not like you're just constantly surrounded by a ton of people that are constantly making noise and whatever. I agree that it's interesting that aesthetically they're in very different places. The first one on a farm, the second one on a factory, like the suburbs, this one in the middle of Manhattan. 3 very different visual settings, but because of the situation, there's not a lot of people. You know what I mean? So, I mean, the background setting, yes. The one thing I will say is, and I was going to mention this when I talked about Patty's Pizzeria, and I forgot, is I've talked about this before. I talked about this when we did Ghostbusters Afterlife, that I was worried about taking the movie, the characters of this franchise out of New York was a spot to me that I was a little cringy about, because New York, more than really any other city in the world, is a character in every movie that it's featured in. New York is a very unique place. So New York has always been kind of its own character. And that, I would say, is the most significant difference between this movie and the other 2 films, is that the other 2 films were relatively generic locations. I mean, a rural farm for the first one could have been anywhere. Could have been anywhere in 30 or 40 different states. The second movie, it's a warehouse in a suburban neighborhood. Again, you could find those almost anywhere. They're a dime a dozen. But Manhattan is its own place. You can't. I mean, yes, they filmed most of this on a soundstage in London, so they just made it look like New York. But any movie that's set in New York has its own flavor, its own feel, its own texture. Everything about that is unique to New York. So that's why I always like movies that are set in New York, because there's a different character there that is kind of encompassing this story and these people. That's what I've always found interesting about movies that are set in New York. But yeah, that's where I think this was most from the other 2 films.
The other thing I really noticed is maybe we're not getting any more Cloverfield stuff because this franchise kind of took that spot. Like they're very similar in a lot of ways, besides the whole quiet thing. Like that's kind of filling the same void, don't you think? Like very similar. Uh, there's a lot of similarities in the franchises, I would say.
There's some similarities. I think the main reason we haven't seen well, when I say anything, I mean a direct sequel to Cloverfield, which I've always wanted to see. I mean, yeah, we've had like 10 Cloverfield Lane, which is a fantastic movie. We had the Cloverfield Paradox. Yeah. I know they're all spiritual sequels, whatever the hell J.J. Abrams wants to call them. But
yeah, they're completely different kinds of film now.
I think the main reason why we haven't seen a direct sequel to Cloverfield is because J.J. Abrams and Matt Reeves got busy doing other shit. I mean, because when J.J. Abrams did Cloverfield, this was before Star Wars. This was before Star Trek. And he at that point, he'd only directed and been like one of the creative guys on like Lost or something like that, and Mission Impossible. He hadn't become J.J. Abrams as we know him now. And then he makes that movie and makes it big, and it's like all of a sudden he's like, oh well, maybe we'll give you Star Wars. Oh, we'll have the Star Trek we want to reboot, the movies. Let's go ahead and give him that. And all of a sudden, he gets really wrapped up in these bigger and bigger projects. He becomes J.J. Abrams, the great director. And then it just kind of pulls him away from that small independent thing that got him started. And then Matt Reeves, of course, on to do Batman and so many other things.
Batman, Planet of the Apes, all that.
I think these guys got too busy. I mean, I've heard these guys get quoted as saying they want to do a sequel to Cloverfield several times over the course of the last 10 or 12 years. But I got to be honest, I still think it's never going to happen.
I don't know.
Unless they get to the point where they're like, you know what? This is a passion project now. We've got a year in our schedules that we can kind of get together and do this. Let's go ahead and we'll I'm sure they've probably written out a couple of treatments, maybe even banged out a couple of scripts. So I mean, I'm willing. So they've probably got something to like start and work with. But I mean, for the most part, unless they get like a year and a half or 2 years, they don't have anything going on. I can't imagine we're ever going to see a sequel to that movie. I would love to because I love the first Cloverfield movie, but it's not.
I love the first. I love that's what I'm saying. Like this, like spiritually, these movies, like they kind of fill that void. Like while we're not getting another Cloverfield, who knows? But giant monster in the city, kind of, and the creatures even look kind of similar when you really kind of break it down. It's kind of funny, I thought, especially the way they look in this film. But yeah, I mean, either way,
obviously a size difference. One of them.
Well, of course, yeah, but
it's the size of a building, whereas these are considerably smaller.
Yeah, but that's the giant alien touched our, a oil plant and it grew 100 feet. It's science fiction. You can do whatever you want with it. That's not hard to do.
You're one line,
or it's like
from explaining whatever the hell you.
These
want.
Are like a young Cloverfield. Instead of Clovey full grown, this is baby. Hell, didn't we just do Godzilla -1 and he grew like 1,000 feet in that movie? So I mean, what are you gonna do? So,
there was the movie Super 8 that J.J. Abrams did with the kids making the movie for the alien and all that. There was a rumor that was going around for a while that was a prequel to Cloverfield, and the monster that actually escapes in that movie is Cloverfield, and then he escapes, he goes and hides in the ocean and comes back later. Although J.J. Abrams was just like, nah. He's like, they look a lot alike, but no, they're very different.
Isn't that the same thing for the Cloverfield Paradox? How that movie was written, and then J.J. Abrams saw it and goes, you know what? I can make this a Cloverfield.
No, that was 10 Cloverfield Lane. 10 Cloverfield.
Oh, it was a Cloverfield Lane. Okay, I knew it was one of them.
It was not a Cloverfield movie, and they had actually stopped production on it at one point. And J.J. Abrams said, "Hey, why don't you let me pour about $5 million in this thing? I'll get it finished up and made." And he tinkered with the scripts, did a couple of reshoots, and made it a spiritual sequel to Cloverfield, is what he said. because you never actually see what alien they mentioned at the end of the movie aliens, not just one gigantic monster tearing up New York City. So it's not a direct sequel, but at least at the end of Cloverfield Paradox, which I thought was a fun enough movie. It wasn't great. I thought it was fun enough to watch. At least at the very end, as that thing's going back through, where the spacecraft is falling back through the atmosphere, and then it falls to the clouds. Then you see the Cloverfield monster from Cloverfield actually popping through the clouds and make an appearance right at the end before the screen cuts to black and the credits start to roll. So, I mean, you at least had that, but I'm like, And there was some other stuff in there, like a couple of company names and stuff like that. Kind of like the Weyland-Yutani Corporation and aliens and shit like that. There was a couple of people in there. But yeah, I don't know. I want a sequel to Cloverfield. I want a straight up sequel to Cloverfield. I don't think we're ever going to get it, but I want to see one.
Probably not.
But yeah, let's see. Lupita Nyong'o actually explained that the most fun and exciting part of the movie for her was finding out a way to communicate messages without words before even making the smallest gesture of body language could change the context of an entire scene. So each scene required a lot of internalization to her. Again, it's one thing to read dialogue well, but in all the ways that you can say something on camera, that's one of the things that does it for me. That complete way of communicating. That was one of the things that drives this. Really, all three of these movies. One thing that I think that John Krasinski did and Emily Blunt did great in the first movie. It was done good in the second movie. I think it was taken to another level in this one.
Well, there are some actors. I forget who. There was one of the. It was either Halloween 4 or 5. It may have been 4 because I think it was Dwight Little. He told the actor who played Michael Myers to basically act with your eyes. No, I'm sorry. This was Kane Hodder that I heard say this one time. Obviously, he's a man in a mask. He doesn't say anything. But he wanted you to, like, whenever you saw him on screen acting, he wanted you to be able to look at his eyes and just speak 1,000 words. And for a film like this where you can't say anything, you have to have actors who are able to do that convincingly. And like I think the scene that shows it best in this film is where they're in the apartment, like they're in it, and it's raining really, it's thundering and lightning, it's doing all that. And it's kind of the blow off, payoff emotional scene where they finally get to scream out during the lightning. And like just the way Joseph Quinn's eyes are like as big as silver dollars. And he's just screaming out, roaring out. Both of them are just blowing off all of that emotion. They really play that off well. And the way some of the facial expressions in this film were done excellent because, you took away your number one form of communication with, being able to speak. So you have to be able to act it out believably. And I thought they did great with that.
Yeah, I've talked a lot about, we were doing a hot fuzz about acting with your eyes the way that she does in that movie. That's, like I said, that to me is one of the ways that you can differentiate a good actor from a great actor. Somebody who acts with their entire being, who doesn't just step in front of the camera, smile and go, "Oh, here's my lines," whatever. It's like people who give a complete performance, who really throw themselves, everything about themselves into a role. That's how you can tell they're really a good actor, a great actor. Lupita Nyong'o and Quinn in this one, and Joseph Quinn in this one, boy, they both killed it in that respect. And Djimon Hounsou as well, but he already had a little bit of practice in the second movie. But I mean, yeah, that's one of the things that made their performances so good is the ways they communicated without words. Such a fantastic way of performing. Let's see. We talked already. The majority of these scenes set in New York City were actually filmed in London. The film's crew built a rough replica of New York City's Chinatown vicinity on a London area backlot for filming most of its early scenes, and many of the scenes set in the New York City subway were filmed in various now closed London Underground stations and tubes. One major scene filmed on location is outside of one of the film's few named locations, Patty's Pizzeria in Harlem. The rest is mostly second unit VFX work.
Yeah, for that to be VFX, that's one thing I can say, like the CGI and the VFX were pretty solid in this movie. Even like when we get the up close shots of like when Joseph Quinn is chasing the cat and he's sitting on the I-beam, and we get like that up close shot of the monster, and it's opening up, and you can kind of see all the teeth and the receptors inside and whatever. The CGI was pretty good for this. I didn't really see anything that stood out to me as so offensive that it needed to be called out. So the VFX were pretty good on that. So they shout out. They did well.
Well, again, because we don't really see the monsters a lot in this movie, there wasn't a whole lot of opportunities for the VFX to be bad. I mean, there's obviously a lot of VFX, not just the visuals of the aliens, but them like coming down through the glass of that hotel and stuff.
Well, of course, yeah.
I thought that stuff was all pretty well done. But like I said, being able to being able to replicate a place like New York, which is so unique, on a backlot in London. I mean, that says a lot about how good some of these stage designers are.
That speaks more to me of just how much does it cost to shoot in New York when you can fly overseas, replicate it, and then go shoot there. That just speaks volumes to me of how much money are we losing in this country of, hell, don't actually shoot in the place, but fly across the world and, rebuild it. I think we really need to reconfigure our scenarios.
It's not just that. It's like a lot of people. I mean, the easy one is like, okay, you get certain tax breaks by filming in certain places. That's one of the reasons why they built.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah.
In Atlanta, because the state of Georgia was giving them a bunch of killer tax breaks to build a studio there. So you get a little bit of money off by filming it in Pinewood. But also some of it is like, if you're going to close down a couple of blocks of Manhattan in the middle of the day to shoot, I mean, you don't just have to pay the city. The small businesses that might be there, you have to compensate them to a pretty good extent.
Of course, yeah, no, of course.
You have to compensate. There's all the people that I don't know if you ever tried to drive around Manhattan or not, but it's not the most traffic friendly place in the world. I've only ever seen pictures, and I got to be honest. If I ever go to New York, I might drive anywhere. I'm just going to ride the bus or the subway. It just seems like the easiest way to get around Manhattan.
I don't need to go to New York. I'm good. No, thank you.
Yeah, but so I mean, it's like you're also trying to find some way to making people extras that are just kind of walking around and trying to make it up to them if you're completely screwing up their entire day. For not just an entire day. I mean, if you're there for a few weeks shooting, I mean, that gets really pricey. So it's probably better off building this on a back lot and just kind of like matte painting in the background, like the World Trade Center or something like that. It just to make it look like you're actually in New York. It's so much cheaper to do it on a back lot than it is to film in New York. And you're going to build it somewhere. You may as well build it over in Pinewood or some other place where they have the infrastructure there to do that. But yeah, I mean, and on top of that, also, I mean, politics plays a little bit into it. I mean, we've talked before about somebody being an extra in a movie because their dad or something was one of the people that helped get the production there, so on and so on. I'm sure politics plays a role. I mean, there's a lot that goes into it. A lot of it really is just money. Who's getting, where you get the bigger tax breaks? Where is it more cost efficient for you to shoot? Especially nowadays with budgets starting to come under such scrutiny, I would imagine money is probably the bigger factor, because it's like it can cost $1 million a day to shoot in a place like LA. And I'm just throwing that number out there. I don't know if that's actually how much it costs, but it can cost like $1 million a day to go shoot in LA, where it can cost $500,000 a day to go shoot on a soundstage in New Mexico out in the middle of nowhere, and you can just CGI in the background of LA or whatever. So I would imagine mostly it's monetary. It's probably just cheaper to shoot on one of these backlots. And to top it off, if you're going to tear up a lot of shit like this movie does, you don't really want to tear up buildings in New York or LA, because then it's not just like we got to compensate these people for the inconvenience of just stopping their lives so we can film there for a week or two. It's now we have to tear this stuff up, then we have to pay to rebuild it. Again, I think it's probably more monetary concerns than it is anything else. But I mean, whatever. We got to this.
Oh, I'm sure.
But I don't think I have a picture of the cat, unfortunately. I thought I did. Do I have the cat there? No, I do not. But anyway, Sam claims that Frodo is a service cat in the movie in order to sneak him into the theater. But this was actually intended to be a joke. In the U.S., only dogs and miniature horses can be designated as service animals, and they only earn that designation after many months, if not years, of training.
Miniature horse. So Shetland ponies can be a service animal. Like, this is what you're telling me.
Yeah, in the U.S., only dogs and miniature horses can be designated as service animals.
I actually know people. I know people who have a Shetland ponies. I'm going to buy one and bring that mofo with me everywhere I go and just threaten somebody to question me. I'm doing it.
It's got to be certified as a service.
Well, I can fake some paperwork and throw a vest on him with whatever. I can do something. That's not hard. I can fudge that part. But I would love to just bring a Shetland pony with me everywhere I go, just because, this is my therapy pet. You can't question me. You have to accept me. It's 2024, by God. So,
is a Shetland pony considered a miniature horse? I don't really know.
Yes, it's the smaller version. Yeah,
I don't know.
That's what they're called.
not knowing anything really about horses except for the fact that they're very pretty, and I've ridden one a couple of times. I mean, are we just talking about a small horse, or are there different breeds of miniature horses, or is it just certain miniature horses?
Well, if they're saying miniature horse, a Shetland pony is a miniature horse, though. That would be my first guess, unless there's some other kind of weird breed they're talking about. Whatever, I'm going to find out whatever that breed is, and I'm going to get one, and I'm going to bring a horse with me everywhere I go. And when I'm in the middle of Bass Pro Shops, I'm going to have my horse with me. So that's how I'm going to handle it. So it'll be fun.
So you have to take your Shetland pony out of here and just shit all over the sporting goods section. You'd be like, it's all right, my service animal. It's cool.
I've got paperwork. He's fine. He's cool. You can't make him leave.
Yeah,
what you got to do.
But let's see. In the puppet theater after the initial attack, one person is listening to a radio marking locations on a globe, providing the first indication that this is a worldwide problem. Actually, I think that's this picture right here.
Yeah.
I caught that when I was watching the movie, actually. There was at first I just kind of thought that they were marking places on a globe just because. I mean, because it was like.
That was pretty clear what that was about.
But I don't know if that necessarily. That doesn't make it very clear that what it means is that all these places are having the same problem. But I mean, whatever.
Well, by the rules of the whole they don't like water thing, basically the safest place you can go is like a tiny island where like 5 people fit, because obviously none of those things are going to fit on, like, the odds of them landing on the smaller piece of land in the middle of water, you're better off you're going to be now. Survival rate, whatever. But that's what I'm saying. Like, in this movie, they kind of contain these monsters. Put this thing in like a vast, the American West somewhere from, like Nevada or, Arizona, Texas, Oklahoma. The things will just run rampant, give it a different atmosphere. How do these, if these things don't like water, how do they handle snow? That's water based. Are we going to get a quiet place in the wintertime like that? That there's different things that can be done with this. If the whole water thing is going to be a thing going forward.
For that matter, if they're in Manhattan, how do they handle winter? I mean,
well, that's what I'm saying.
It's assumed that that they drop in the summertime here, but I mean they're known for having some pretty rough winters in New York. So what happens when it drops down to like 0 degrees with a wind chill of negative whatever? Are these things going to be able to survive?
And then, okay, these things don't like water, right? How did that one get in the tunnel underground that was above the water? It would have had to have went under the water and up and to dig into that tunnel, because obviously the hole was from underneath. So did that flood afterwards?
They can kind of crawl on the ceiling still. I mean, they're kind of like that. They can still move.
But I know that's what I'm saying. Once you determine that water is the weakness, I mean, aren't we like 80% water on planet Earth or so? I don't know what the exact number is.
73, I think it's the percentage.
Yeah, it's somewhere up in there. Like, that kind of hinders. I don't know. To me, I wouldn't have given them that weakness, because hell, if you go get a water gun, you can beat these things. Like, that's all you need to do then. Just crack open a fire, a fire hydrant somewhere. You're in the middle of the city; those things are everywhere, right? So crack open the hydrant. You're good to go. So.
Well, it's like Hawaii was one of the places that was marked on that globe, I noticed. Now, Hawaii, while a couple million people live on the Big Island, it's like if you drop, a couple hundred of these things on the Big Island, they're going to wipe out those people pretty quickly. And there's an opportunity for them to get off of Manhattan and into like New Jersey or whatever. I mean, because that, the Hudson and stuff is only so wide. That's why they blew up the bridges.
Right.
But it's like those things are trapped out there. It's not like they can jump on a bridge, or there's not some way that they can sneak their way to the mainland. You're out in the middle of the ocean. So do those things just die off after a while? Do they try to go at it and take a swim? Or do you just say,
basically you just need like a houseboat and or a yacht to live, and you're good to go. As like, if you can do like aquaponics farming and stuff, you're fine. You're now Kevin Costner living in Waterworld. That's where you live now. You don't live on the ground anymore. So, why not?
Unless they evolve and they figure out a way to swim.
Well, yeah. Now, that's probably what that happened. Like, since day one,
that's in part 4.
That's like A Quiet Place. The Next Generation. They grew gills and they can breathe underwater now.
Well, you know what's going to happen is David Gordon Green's going to get a hold of the franchise, and he's going to give him gills. He's going to make him mutants.
Oh yeah, he's gonna cuck out the monster, and it's gonna be like a pussy, and then it's gonna be the whole thing. But what you gotta do? Fuck David Gordon Green. I hate that.
I don't know if you know this or not. I don't have a good picture of her bag. I think she kind of has it there. Lupita Nyong'o's "I Love New York" bag stays perfectly clean throughout the entire film, despite her being trapped under a car, walking through dirty water up to her neck, and being in situations where things have exploded near her. I don't know what material that stuff was made out of, but I wouldn't mind a T-shirt made from it. I don't know. Did you notice that, Tex, that bag never got any dirt on it at all this entire film?
Not only did I notice that, but that pure, almost besides the black spots, that pure white cat, when it's not wet, is the cleanest animal you've ever seen in your life. Like that to me took me out of it more than anything. Like you're running through ash and dust and just muck and whatever. And the cat's perfectly clean because it's got to present pretty on screen, right? I think that whole "I Love New York" thing, I know that logo is trademarked and whatever. Because like whenever they did Jason Goes to Manhattan, the original poster for that was the I love New York with Jason hacking through the middle of it and his face showing. I think they're very particular about how that logo is shown. So maybe that was why it couldn't get dirty for some reason. I mean, I could be completely making this up, but I don't know. It would make sense.
I just thought it was one of those things like maybe they didn't notice because it's like the Starbucks cup that's in like something in Game of Thrones or something like that. So it's like something that was not paying attention. He's like, shit. like, well, it's in there now, part of TV history, so we're just gonna go with it. But what's going on, Ghost Host, my man Brooding Gamer? Thank you for congratulating us on that. 801, I think, is what we were at. I think earlier today. I kind of glanced at it. We're at 801. Brooding Gamer, a big part of our recent growth over the course of the last 6 or 8 weeks. Tonight's thumbnail, actually, courtesy of Brooding Gamer. Thanks a lot, brother, for doing that. A lot of thumbnails coming up. You're going to see came from him. Many thumbnails in the past from him. So, yes, thank you very much for your support and continue to be a part of all this. We appreciate it. But that's all I have for the trivia. So let's go ahead and get some final thoughts on this. I don't know, Tex, final thoughts. A Quiet Place, day one. Did it work for you?
Yeah, it worked. I mean, obviously, the things I would have changed, I've already said. A couple minor changes here or there. Overall, I enjoyed it. Even the lulls were fine. Very character-driven story. Enjoyable 90-plus minutes, whatever it was in the theater. Probably out of the 3 films, I would rank this third, probably after the first 2. But, it's still a good one. This is a franchise that has yet to have a bad film, in my opinion. So, I mean, obviously there's more to come down the pike. So, I'm sure I'll be there at Quiet Place day 2 or whatever the hell the next one is called. So, it's all good.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, while I think it's the third best of the films so far, it's still really good. I mean, there hasn't been a bad film in a lot. Obviously, a bit of a departure. No Emily Blunt, no John Krasinski. Definitely, John Krasinski's creative presence is all over this. Obviously, he helped write it and map out the story. But yeah, I thought it was a pretty fitting contribution to this whole thing overall. Again, I'd like to have seen a little bit more explanation as to exactly what was going on. I hate it when these movies just kind of leave it out there because, sometimes you don't need to explain something, but sometimes you do. It's like. And sometimes I want an explanation. I think that would be kind of nice to give me a different focal point for what's going on here. But I mean, I'm with Tex. I mean, I don't really have a lot to gripe about this movie. I mean, could have been more Djimon Hounsou. I don't know why you would have that guy in there and not focus on him a little bit more. He's in part of the scene at the beginning. He's there for the initial stuff, and then you don't really see him again until the end of the movie when he's pulling Eddie Munson up onto the boat to save him. So. That's kind of all he's really in the movie. They didn't give enough to do. But like I said, I would have added another action set piece, another interesting chase. The underground one though, when they were in the subway station, they were like slowly getting into deeper water. That to me was very tense because it's not just like the danger of the creature trying to kill you; it's the danger of drowning. So it's like there's two different dangers you have to deal with there. But overall, I thought it was a good movie. I may try to go back and see it in theaters. And I haven't watched John Campion's video on this yet, but he did a piece earlier that this movie is actually going to be digitally available at the end of the month, which I think is just stupid. I mean, if you've got a movie that's financially
already, it just came out.
I know. Whatever.
It's
like they're trying to kill theaters for some reason.
They're not even waiting the 45-day theatrical release to do this crap anymore.
I don't know.
They're waiting like 2 weeks.
I don't know.
That's stupid.
I don't know, but whatever. I mean, they're going to do it. There's nothing I can do about it. Damn. All I can say is continue to go support your favorite movies in theaters. Keep theaters open. There's a reason why. There's a reason why theaters are there. It still is the best.
I'll say this. I know it's summertime and it's kind of a different thing, but every time I've driven by a movie theater here lately, it's even in the middle of the day, I'm seeing at least like half full parking lots. So that's a good sign for, movies as a whole. Obviously I think Pixar has a new one out, and there's a new Despicable Me about to come out. There's one that I'm going to recommend on my closing segments about to come out. So there's a lot of good stuff to go see in theaters. And I mean, we got to support this stuff if we're going to keep getting it. Otherwise, streaming is going to kill the theater, and I do not want to see that happen. So,
yeah, the theater is definitely still the best way to see a movie. I mean, I can't imagine not ever having had the opportunity to see Star Wars or Jurassic Park or something on a big screen. I mean, as great as they are to watch at home on my, I have a decent sized TV. As nice as they are to watch on that, but they have nothing on the big screen. Nothing at all on the big screen.
Dude, I go back to what I said a couple of days ago in our group chat. I had already seen the Twisters trailer on just regular, phone or whatever. But when I saw that same trailer on the big screen and those tornado scenes, holy crap, dude! It elevated it 1,000 levels. So, my God, yes, I cannot wait, dude. It's going to be awesome. It's going to be cool.
But but like I said, for me, and I agree with Tex. I mean, this movie was really, really good. I would have altered a few things, but I mean, I'm not disappointed in this movie at all. So go check it out. It's gonna, like I said, it's gonna hit streaming at the end of the month. It's probably gonna still be behind a paywall, so it's not gonna be free to watch on Netflix or Amazon. It'll be available digitally, but still, I mean, go see it in the theater. This movie is worthy. I think this movie is worthy of a theater trip for you guys if you want to go see it. So go check it out. My man Tex, thanks for coming and hanging out with me as always. What do you got going on the internet, my friend?
Sure. Oh, not much this week. I mean, happy 4th of July, and I hope everybody celebrates well and eat your hot dogs and whatever you're going to do. But I will say, everybody, go to the theater this weekend. Go see Maxine. It's the end of Ty West's X trilogy. I cannot wait for it. I'm so looking forward. Sleazy 80s slasher set in L.A. back in the it just looks like so much fun. So go check out Maxine this weekend. Friday after your 4th of July hangover and you've had 15 hot dogs and hamburgers, you just want to go sit down in a cool, dark theater to, sweat it off, So go check it out this weekend.
Yeah, as for me, we'll probably be back here, if not Thursday, probably not Thursday, certainly on Tuesday. I'm not exactly sure how we're going to do Tuesday. It's probably going to be Deadpool. I'm thinking that we're going to try to do all the Maxine movies back to back to back. So maybe next month before we get to those, because like I said, this month is going to be all Deadpool and Twisters for the rest of the month. So and we're going to have to move it around a little bit to accommodate for the 4th of July, but we'll make it happen somehow. So all Deadpool, all Twister, all the month of July. And then August, as we get to August, I mean, we haven't started giving serious consideration to the scary season because come September, I mean, it's really like end of August is really when Halloween kind of starts for people like us who like the movies, who like the makeup, who like the costumes and all that shit. So once we get to the end of August, we're getting into the scary season.
Halloween is a 12-month process. It's not even September for me. It's Sawtember because I dedicate the entire month to the Saw franchise. So, it's some of us just live the lifestyle. We have, we were born in it. It's fine. We love it.
I was born in it, molded by it.
I can't do the Bane voice, or I would. But
you are in Texas Chainsaw Massacre territory, so I mean it's kind of in the DNA
hey,
there.
hey, don't forget August 18th is Texas Chainsaw Massacre Day. If you wanted to, do a re-review, that would be the perfect day. Or I don't know if the 18th falls on a Tuesday or Thursday this year, but if it were to happen, that would be a great time. So
we'll make
put
it work.
That into the ether.
We'll make it work.
We'll figure it out.
But so you will see us back here. We probably will not see you Thursday. Enjoy 4th of July. Celebrate the birth of our nation by blowing stuff up and drinking responsibly and hanging out with your relatives. Fly your red, white, and blue. I'm already kind of getting into my spirit with my Demolition Ranch shirt. Obviously, the red, white, and blue. I got my red, white, and blue hat back there. I'll be wearing that when I go out Thursday. So yeah, we will see you guys on Tuesday. Thanks to all of you for coming to hang out with us. Very much appreciate it. We'll see you then. And before I leave, here's my theory. Eric is Eddie and Nancy's love child. It works out. The timing works out. It's possible. I think it works.
Not a bad theory. Not a bad one. Possible. I can see it.
I mean, because look, they were just obviously some sexual tension between those two last season on Stranger Things. So it happened that way. Why not, right?
Oh yeah. Well, hey, you got to do something when you're bored, right? You got to keep yourself entertained.
Or they got together, they had a kid, and they named him Glenn Powell. Let's make Glenn Powell happen.
I think the internet's going to take care of that for us. I don't think we have to worry too hard.
No doubt.
Hell,